Okay, testing once again, Wickerson Studios, 1, 2, 3. Now, I know my last video I was very excited about my discovery on my own of Rhino geometry or RG NURB surfaces create from corners, and then there's 4 corners that are picked here instead of 3. Well, if I just went ahead one script, I would have figured that out. So sometimes researching is better than trying to develop things on your own. But let's take a look at this simple script. In the Python node, basically what was imported is a surface. And once again, I'm drawing this initial script from atlv.org, which is a great educational site where I'm getting all my learning done and research done. I did import math, and we're throwing through an iRange with a nested loop of unum and vnum, which are parametric. I can change from 0 to 10, and that's going to change what's happening here. And you'll see the script is here. It's actually a pretty interesting panel with just a little bit of Boolean difference in it or regional difference or something. We'll have to take a look at it in Grasshopper. And then basically I made 0.11, 0.12, 0.21, and 0.22. So thinking very similar to what I was doing within relative paths and path mappers, but also relative item and relative items, possibly in path mapper, possibly shifting paths. But basically, I'm thinking about these as points that I actually want to make something. This is a pretty cool little script, what it generates. Now, I went in and decided to add other variables of x and y, which would then become integer values that I could stream gate differently. Now, this is going to slow down because it's about a 4 decks-a-second script. So if I jump that up to 2, it's just going to take a second to jump. You'll see a bit of delay. You see it actually jostles things out a bit and changes the shape of the squares, stretches them out in one way. Some are successful and some aren't, which I'm excited about. And then this one, I'm going to pull up to 3, and you'll see what it does in the y-axis. And what's nice about that is I can pull it from the positive and negative fairly quickly. So give that a second to load. It's about a 4-second script. It's thinking hard. And there we go. I pulled it up in the Y. So you've got some pretty cool shape on some panels if you wanted to do something. Python is just killer. I mean, like you could do it in Grasshopper. I know you could, but it's like, why not do it here? Now I have a toggle that I can hold down a button and shift it. And of course, it's not a Boolean toggle, it's a button. So if I hold it, I got to hold my finger on it until it actually waits 4 seconds to jump over to the other side. And it gives me a little tiny bit of a shuffle. It's not very efficient to do things like this. And you'll see why the script is so slow in Grasshopper. And I can pull the negative. And I'm starting to use the stream gate, which I learned from Ralph in Ara Jewelry. He uses it a lot, so I've actually used it in here. And basically, my output is simple. It's the panels. So if I go on here, you'll see. I think here, if I choose that, that's what it's outputting. Panels that kind of overlap each other and stagger a bit because of my numbers. Now, if I cease to go farther than that, I can move those around pretty quick. I just have to go into here and hit click this node and just hit disable. Then I could go on here and you can see how fast these buttons kind of shift my scripts. And that's what I was doing. I was do-si-doing and dancing and pulling things here, there, and everywhere I want. I can change the panel count. I can loosen that. I can really extend out. You have a lot of control over these geometries with a very couple of sliders. And you're not depending on other people's clusters or plugins. You're working them on your own. So let's just plug this one back in. And we'll go to enable, and that's still going to take 4 seconds. And I'll show you a simple extrusion method, pretty basic for anything you're doing. So here we go. We've got a pretty cool shape, some overlapped and some that staggers and folds. And I'm thinking these as kind of plates that either bend or not. So what I decided was let's take that pattern of panels and let's call out, let's extrude panels off in one direction, make them all into boxes. And I extruded them along normals by setting a MD slider right here. So if you're familiar with Grasshopper, I kind of assume there's some basic skill sets there. Now I'm going to debrep and I'm going to grab everything and I'm going to say, okay, which sides are planar? And the results being, well, it tells me which ones are planar, but because I put in a not gate, it's going to say, okay, I showed you which ones were planar. Now I'm saying not those, so then I'm getting the list of geometries that are not planar, which is nice. And those not planars have a center, and I scaled those as a scale factor, which is kind of nice from where they were as panels. And then I grabbed the center of those again and decided to dispatch those because they came in a, it's just like following the data and getting into that and saying, okay, well, look, I got so many sets of 2, 30 branches of 2. So I'll just dispatch those and create lines between them. And then the lines I'll just make into a pipe, and I'll use that as a trim solid so I get a little hole in between. And that's where you end up going with the Grasshopper and playing around. There's not really any optimization or whatever. I guess you could optimize the hole for sunlight, which is so often used in architecture. Excuse me. But right now it's very playful. As soon as I leave Python, I go back to my same kind of fun ways of playing with Grasshopper, and I'll put these scripts up online, and I'm going to use them on my GitHub, my Patreon site for those that want to dip into it. But basically, I didn't do anything to the script. It was given to me that way. I added some maths, and I decided, well, I can't just copy an idea at its base form and show you how it's done, because there's other websites that do that. It's just nice to see somebody playing and how they interface. I wish there was more. There was one guy, Kinetic Architecture or something. He was out of Australia, and he didn't like the way a lot of video tutorials were going online. And I've chosen never to lead a tutorial and build nodes with people, even though that's how I learned. But what I end up doing is just kind of walking you through the creative process of where I would go, what forks in the road I would take. And in the sense, like I said, I was playing around for a year on Grasshopper from here, trying to end up with this endpoint. And then I realized, no, let's dip into here and try and find the logic that really goes into that and stay to the left side of the Python node and in the Python node. And the biggest challenge is, oh, I can't believe I was so excited that I discovered this on my own by just going through Rhino Developer, and here it was in the next script. Anyway, a little taste. We're going to go into moving panelization a little more. We're going to jump into that, keep going along here. I think the only thing that's going to be added is surfaces at normal, because you're dealing with surfaces, not points now. And we'll deal with some panels, and these are going to be the exact same thing. My goodness, Rhino geometries at NURB surface create from corners, 3 or 4 corners. So if I just had held off a minute or looked a little farther down the path, all the answers would have been there for me. But that is the game you play with research and development. Research, develop some ideas, but they go hand in hand. And I don't think a lot of people really comprehend that, at least in the visual arts world. We always throw on that we're doing R&D, we're always doing R&D, but is anybody really developing and thinking about what that means in an interrelationship, interdependency upon research? And that's where I'm going, and there's no going back from this. I'm going to just keep going farther and farther as a computational design developer in Grasshopper for Rhino, and hopefully get myself busy and doing projects for other people and other places and other companies and other things. So please jump into the Patreon if you want to start getting a little deeper into these files, talk with me one-on-one. That's where I'm going. I'm pretty comfortable in front of the screen, and we'll see where it goes. Thanks for watching.